honour of her recent legacy induction into the WWE Hall of Fame, let's take a look at the life, career and passing of Luna Vachon. Luna's professional wrestling career should be celebrated, but we should also remember the struggle that was Luna's later life. Luna was a true survivor. Throughout the 90s, most women in the world of professional wrestling were little more than eye candy, designed by the wrestling industry to look good while bringing their male counterparts to the ring. But Luna Vachon was different from her female contemporaries. The adopted daughter of wrestling legend Butcher Vachon, Luna could actually wrestle. Gertrude Vachon, Trudy to friends, was one of the most colourful and eccentric women wrestlers of all time. She was billed as the daughter of Paul the Butcher Vachon, though biologically she is not his daughter. He always considered her as his daughter, even after splitting with her mother, Van, which was Butcher's second marriage. Trudy arrived in his life when she was 4 years old. I taught my daughter Luna how to wrestle and also sent her to Moolah's wrestling school. She patterned her wrestling style and personality after Mad Dog and I. Luna became one of the most famous and recognised lady wrestlers in wrestling history, wrote her father in his second autobiography. Luna said, "I grew up wanting to be part of this business so badly, it was in my blood, and all I wanted to do was become a wrestler." None of her relatives wanted her to wrestle, but she wouldn't take no for an answer after a childhood spent playing in the ring before shows. After a brief stint with Aunt Vivian, she was sent to South Carolina to train with the fabulous Moolah, and having hated working for Moolah, she eventually settled in Florida Championship Wrestling in 1985. In terms of storyline and character, mild-mannered reporter Trudy Heard was driven mad by Kevin Sullivan, eventually joining his Army of Darkness stable. Trudy Heard then became Luna Vachon, and the look and gimmick stuck with her for the remainder of her professional career. Luna Vachon worked predominantly in Florida during the mid to late 80s, and done some work with Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling in the late 90s before making her way to the WWF. In 1992, while wrestling in Puerto Rico, she tried to get David Heath a job with the World Wrestling Federation, which resulted in the WWF developing an interest in her. They hired her, but not without some complications. No one actually knew where she was, even her father only knew that she was staying in Florida. The WWF actually hired a private investigator to find Luna. When she was found, she was working as a waitress at a restaurant. Luna's first WWF appearance was in April 1993 at WrestleMania IX, coming to the ring with Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels in his match against Tatanga, who in turn was accompanied by Shawn Michaels' former valet, Sensational Sherry. After the match, Luna attacked Sensational Sherry at ringside and later in the first aid area, then was arrested by security, starting a vicious feud between the two. At the same time Luna and Sherry were at odds, Bam Bam Bigelow had a confrontation with Sherry. This led to him being attacked by Tatanga and the two of them feuding. Soon after, Bam Bam announced that he had fallen in love and presented Luna as his main squeeze. He also endearingly called her his tick, which fans combined with her name to chant Lunatic. From then, Bam Bam was seen blowing kisses to Luna at the end of his matches, and in her honour even included the moonsault, redubbed Lunasalt, into his moveset. When the WWF's women division was revived, Luna's old rival Medusa, who had entered the WWF under the name Alundra Blayze, won the women's championship. Luna set her eyes on the title and had a series of matches with Alundra, all resulting in victories for Blayze. It was during this time that the relationship between Luna and Bam Bam first showed cracks after interference in a match backfired. In the summer, Luna sold Bam Bam's contract to Ted DiBiase, who was beginning to build his $1 million corporation. Luna then picked Japanese wrestler Bull Nakano to win the women's title from Blayze, which she eventually did. Luna, however, left the WWF shortly after this title match. After leaving WWF, Luna wrestled on the independent circuit. Upon the recommendation of Kevin Sullivan's wife Nancy, she entered Extreme Championship Wrestling. She was brought in as Tommy Dreamer's new valet in his long-running feud with Raven. Dreamer announced Luna as someone out of Raven's past, as Luna and Raven used to be housemates during their Florida days, and both had also worked at the same time in the WWF. In early 1997, Luna had a short run with WCW, again going after her rival Medusa. In the same year, Luna would return to the WWF to work as Goldust's manager. Around this time, Goldust also teamed with Mark Morrow, which led to another feud as Luna and Sable, who was working as Mark Morrow's manager, began fighting on the outside of the ring. The feud culminated in a mixed tag match at WrestleMania 14, pitting the two couples against each other. After this, Luna challenged Sable to an evening gown match at Unforgiven and scored the victory by stripping her opponent down to her underwear. The animosity between Luna and Sable was not entirely kayfabe though. As Sable's popularity increased, she adopted a presumptuous attitude towards other competitors. According to Luna, as the two trained in preparation for their WrestleMania match, Sable refused to learn how to take bumps, while Luna was threatened by WWF officials that hurting her opponent in the ring would put her job in jeopardy. Sable also annoyed Luna with bragging about being promised the Women's Championship, a goal that had eluded the veteran Luna during her whole tenure with the WWF. Luna was also hurt after she had carried Sable in their match, as Sable was universally congratulated while Luna was only consoled by Owen Hart. Still, Luna described the match as a highlight in her career. There are other stories out there regarding Luna and Sable's backstage heat, but not knowing exactly what's true and what isn't, it may not be fair to discuss them. Something was going on backstage though, and it even began including Luna's husband Gangrel, along with Sable's husband Mark Morrow at the time. Luna continued to work for the WWE right up until 2000. Fans of the Attitude Era will mostly remember her time as Goldust's manager and also her time in the Oddities, which Luna described the group as being the worst wrestlers that you could ever throw into a ring. However, in 2000, WWF released Luna from her contract. Dave Meltzer reported that it had something to do with a conflict between her and a WWF producer. The altercation with her and a producer was revealed to be an excuse. Both Luna and Gangrel were featured in a shoot interview. The pair said that the producer in question was a friend of Luna's and had shot a spitball into Luna's hair. Luna then went into the trainer's room, got permission to borrow the trainer's tape, then taped the producer's mouth shut and wrapped tape all around her. Everyone had a big laugh over it, including the producer. It was a joke. A few days later though, Luna got a call at home from Jim Ross firing her for the taping incident. Apparently someone had been taping Brian Christopher to urinals naked and leaving him there for hours, and it was enough circumstantial evidence to blame her for things when she taped up the producer. Keep in mind that this following information came from Luna's own mouth. Luna said that she feels the only reason she was kept around that long was because she was involved in debunking accusations Sable made that Owen Hart and others had sexually harassed her and that everyone in the WWF was on drugs except Sable. After leaving the WWF, Luna continued to manage Gangrel during her independent tours all over the world, as well as wrestling on her own. On December 5, 2007, Luna Vachon announced her retirement. Her last match took place on December 7th for Great Lakes Championship Wrestling in Milwaukee. She successfully defended her Great Lakes Championship Wrestling Ladies Championship against Tracy Brooks and then retired as champion. Luna Vachon's life was a true struggle. The former wrestler was faced with bipolar disorder. She tried to find solace in religion, but it seems that becoming a born-again Christian did little to ease her pain. Adding stress to her life was a tragic 2009 house fire that destroyed nearly all of her belongings. While Luna Vachon did not die until the following year, it's possible that the hardships that she faced sent her over the edge and contributed to the behaviour that would lead to her death. On August 27, 2010, Luna Vachon died at her home in Pasco County, Florida. The former wrestler was 48. Her body was discovered by her mother, who had stopped by for a visit. As soon as Luna Vachon's death was announced, websites began speculating that the former wrestler committed suicide. TMZ was quick to report that drugs were found in her home. Authorities confirmed that there was drugs found at the home, including crushed pill residue and snorting straws. the medical examiner revealed that Luna Vachon had died from an overdose of benzos and narcotic painkiller oxycodone. The medical examiner did not rule the death as suicide, rather Luna Vachon is believed to have accidentally overdosed on drugs. Her family decided to scatter her ashes at the ranch of her longtime friend, Andre the Giant. It is heartbreaking to think that she never saw the revolution of women's wrestling, as it seems she would have loved the ability to step into the ring with properly trained and hard-working females. Fans of the early and mid-90s era of WWF will fondly remember Luna as not only being Bam Bam Bigelow's main squeeze and briefly a valet for Shawn Michaels, but also an intimidating force to be reckoned with in the ring. It's great that Luna has now been immortalised into the WWE Hall of Fame.